Returning now with chapter 6. Where were we? The holograms await beyond the hypocrisy, when the natural science is returned to all aspects of society, including calendar transformation and political revolution. The code is nature cosmos, Fibonacci and binary geometric. Indeed, it shall be fun explaining. Chapter 6 starts off with this image, which is the same as this image. And what is this image? This image is the 8-fold hologram based off of the number 44, and what it's emphasizing is every single ancient culture, every single ancient site, pyramid, stone circle, temple, you name it, are either aligned to the north, south, east, west cardinal directions, or the other 4 8 points which create an X, or they are pointed in the direction of the sun rising or setting on those particular days, or some connection with these particular points of the year. This chapter is called Ancient, with the emphasis on ancient cosmology, infinity codes. So what do we actually have here before I actually read the chapter, which is a fairly long chapter, because it's got a lot of information in it. You have the center, you have the geometric heart, the 91 days times 4. Which is the perfection, you could say, or the constant without any change, which you could say is perfection, but unfortunately it has no movement. It's fixed, you know. Around it is the organic layer, and when you take into consideration the actual lengths of the seasons, they're not 91, they're more closely connected to 89 and 93. And then if you then look into those numbers further, what do you actually get? Well, you get this very interesting 44, 45, 46, 47, 47, 46, 45, 44. So it's a ladder, you know, it's step by step, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, based off of 44 root. Obviously, you know, the diagram itself is 8, or 2 times 4, and then the root is 44, which is 2 4s. But yes, this is the, you could say, the heart of infinity codes, because it is about remembering ancient wisdom from across the entire planet, not excluding, pretty much, not excluding at all. Not excluding, looking into all ancient wisdom and seeing what all of it has to say, and seeing how it all ties together. So, Chapter 6. Moving on from the overly apparent hijacking of the system by the world management team with their smoke and mirrors tactics, I was to find out that it would be necessary to create an entirely new system of time. Through the process, I was to realize that I was really just rediscovering what our ancestors already knew, but had been lost down the corridors of time by the knowledge hoarding and book burnings. Yet, in order to take this mammoth understanding of infinity to the next level, I had to piece together various loose threads of ancient wisdom to see the full picture. There are many aspects to understand in order to see this more complete picture, and they go as follows. These are the sections of this chapter. The geometric eightfold year is based on exact units of measure, in brackets, masculine archetype. The organic eightfold year is based on real-time events, in brackets, feminine archetype. The Fibonacci year sequence was to be revealed to me by studying the already existing organic year for further clues, which is the third part. Fourth part, and this then leads to the zenith year, which is another version of the geometric year but based on 7 parts instead of 8, as it is based on the Mayan long count, and that's how that begins to tie in too. I've dedicated a small section in this chapter to each one of the key matrices, and they are required reading in order to then understand the vast cycles of long count, timelines, and on into the infinite cycles of what I was later term the celestial DNA time spiral. The idea of 19,000 years of peace is founded on the alchemy of all this wisdom, and so that all the traditions can see we have far more in common than what separates us apart. So the geometric year, the eightfold geometric, which is here, eightfold geometric. This graphic shows the geometric side of time that is usually referred to when speaking about the 4 seasons of 13 weeks. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, each being made up of a total of 91 days. 4 times 91 equals 364, plus 1 equals 365. At the center of the graphic is the pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. This pyramid of the Maya has 91 steps on each side, plus an extra step at the top to enter the chamber at the pyramid's peak. Again, 91 times 4 plus 1 equals 365. All adds up. Steps, whole days per year. As a pattern, this geometry of time allows for interlocking sequences of the 7-day week and the 13-month year. This can be understood through the outer ring of 52 segments. 52 segments. There are 52 weeks per geometric year, plus 1 day to complete the year equals 365. There are 13 weeks per geometric season, 91 days. There are 4 weeks per geometric month, 28 days, also known as the common law month. The inner section of the main graphic shows the year divided into 8 parts, making it the geometric reflection of the solstices and equinoxes, plus 4 fire festivals. Here we have some more geometries here. So here you have the 91 times 4, 7 times 13. It's good to just reflect on these numbers again. What numbers do we have here? We have the 7, 13 and 19, all of which are numbers which are intricately related to the 19-year cycle itself, which is in previous videos. Those are the key numbers though. the seed, the tree, and the flower. The 7, the 13, and the 19. Here is 91. 1 and 9 reversed. So this is the geometric formula here. So, ignoring all actual real events and just adding up things in a perfect number sequence, as in geometrically perfect, that would be to divide the year into 8 times 45, but you're left with 5 extra days at the end. But that is how you divide it in order to be precise. 4 of the extra days are positioned at the midpoint of the 4 seasons. So the 46th day of 91, the midpoint of a sequence of 1 to 91. And the 5th star is the +1 extra day, the day before the winter solstice, and is placed here in order to align the geometric year with the organic year matrices together. So they all connect together. The +1 being an anchor point. So the matrices maintain synchrony over time. This is done by first finding the axis of symmetry from the shape of the year in the organic, and then merging this with the geometric symmetry. They both interlock with each other from this anchor point of the +1 day. There's a little star there. In our current age, this axis of symmetry runs along the solstice line. So, 3000 BC, beginning of the previous long count that just ended in 2012, the axis of symmetry wasn't vertical, it was horizontal in terms of the actual graphic. Now obviously all of these graphics are 2D printouts on bits of paper, giving the illusion that it's all flat. To me, when I look at these graphics, I don't think 2D. I know it's printed on 2D, but my imagination sees fractals, sees spheres, interlocking spheres, sees interlocking time cycles with the spheres over vast thousands of year cycles where we live. We live inside this, you know. So that's just a wee bit about the axis symmetry. I've also included an extra 6th star in the position of the autumn equinox to identify the time when personally I feel leap days should currently be added. Another little star, C sectional leap day for calculations. This could be done simultaneously in either the geometric organic matrix. Currently there is a ± 2 day difference, which is that 89, 91, 93. So 89 plus 2 is 91 plus 2 is 93, or 93 minus 2 is 91 minus 2 is 89, which is the organic fluctuation with the geometric. The geometric is the constant 91, the organic is the fluctuations, the -2 plus 2 from the 91, so the 93 and the 89, which is the egg-shaped orbit. That's, you know, we don't live in this perfect universe, although at the heart of all creation, this could be, so going back to the leap days, this could be done simultaneously in either the geometric organic matrix. Currently there is a ± 2 day difference. However, since they are both aligned at the winter solstice +1 anchor point, and would be using the same leap day rule, their long-term trends would remain balanced and in tune with each other. There's a few more pages to do all this kind of stuff. So you've got these guys here, Third Eye of Horus, Ancient Cosmology, Infinico's website. Okay, next section, moving on from the geometric 8 to the organic 8. So here's the organic 8. Okay. This graphic of the organic version of the eightfold year was done to highlight its connection with what I call the shape of the year, or egg-shaped orbit, as in not perfectly circular. Instead of the seasons having exactly the same lengths based on equal measure, they show their lengths in reality based on naked eye observations, which is what our ancestors did. These naked eye observations, like for instance the sunrise on equinox being exactly due east, are no different than what can be calculated with the many satellites in geosynchronous orbit around the planet. Underneath there's in brackets, though using satellites to work it out may be more fancy, it is entirely unnecessary, which is why the ancients built all of these ancient temples to be aligned to the cosmos and the cycles of the earth and the moon and the stars and reality around us. Reality around us, not just a fiction, not just a Gregorian fiction, but a reality, a fractal reality, with many layers that all interlock and have codes to describe the reason for them, deeply embedded into our entire planetary history, ancient cultures across the entire planet. The lengths vary from 44 to 47 days, but are contained within a holistic sequence and are based on whole day count observations, just like our ancestors would have done in order to calculate the true number of days between the solstices and equinoxes, plus 4 fire festivals. The results of these observations would have been enough for our ancestors to realize that the planet was in an elliptical orbit as it spirals around the sun. In fact, it is very close to perfectly circular, but not quite. And the slight difference is where most researchers just glance over this and move on. However, hidden within it is a grand mystery, which can be extrapolated from using numbers of the Fibonacci ratio to create a mathematical formula for the inner and outer aspects of time, which is then I explain in the next section. See the next section for Fibonacci codes. The inner and outer aspects of time could also be explained as personal and collective, or individual and planetary, as above, so below. The key that led to my understanding the relationship of the Fibonacci sequence is the number 89. And there's a little pine cone there. Nice little pine cone. Woo. Nature has much to reveal to us. So here is the actual. This is the precise to 2 decimal points modern satellite precision clock, to 2 decimal point accuracy. This is it in whole numbers. This is it in whole numbers, the same numbers but rounded, which is what our ancestors would see with naked eye observations based off of alignments on particular days. So what that shows is the 89 and the 93. So you've got the 89 and the 93, and then these numbers here are basically rounded to these 89 and 93, because we are dealing with whole days, not divisions of the day, based off of sunrise and sunset as the basic unit of time. The numbers that come out as the answer from this investigation produce a beautiful natural progression and renewal as 44, 45, 46, 47, 47, 46, 45, 44 plus 1 equals 365. Where the 44 plus 45 equals 89, and the 46 and the 47 equals 93. There's another little star there. The seasons are accurate for the northern hemisphere, with the southern hemisphere being a perfect mirror to this. So, spring in the north is autumn in the south. Summer in the north is winter in the south. Autumn in the north is spring in the south, and winter in the north is summer in the south. A mirrored reflection. So that's a little overview of the organic 8. So now we're moving to the Fibonacci year, which incorporates the 5 ratio. It is an absolute pleasure to be sharing this piece of the puzzle, as its remembrance will surely revolutionize our whole understanding of a great many things. What you're looking at is a year based on the ratios of Fibonacci spiral, which goes as follows: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144. There's the actual graphic here. The Fibonacci year. Ooh. Bet you've not heard of that one before. The way that I've arranged the numbers is so that they create both an inner time matrix and outer time matrix. Inner time geometric matrix is the first 6 numbers from 0 to 5, counting 0 as a number. It's still a number, even if it's an absence of what is termed value. It's like a cup has value inherently without there anything being in the cup. Because without the cup you couldn't actually put anything in it, you know? So the 0 is like that. It's a work of art, you know? It's the vessel. So what you get is the 0, which is the center from which everything is born and to which everything returns. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 equals 12. So 12-month time systems. When the 0-point center is included, it enables the 13-month time systems, as 0 to 12 equals 13 positions, which brings in Metatron's cube, which has 13 circles, and this is basically 12 points, 12 segments plus the center. So 12 plus 1 is 13. But it's all inclusive, it's 12 and 13, which is the difference between 12 and 13. 12 does not include 13. 12 is wholly only 12 and nothing else, whereas 13 includes 12. So it's 12 and 13, an alchemy. Not a hierarchy, an alchemy. Outer time organic matrix, the next 7 numbers from 8 to 144, equal 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144 equals 364, plus an extra day to complete the year, equals 365. Anchoring the start of the outer time matrix at the point at which the numbers lock into the symmetry of 89 and 93 can be shown thus, measured in whole days. It was a monumental signpost that one of the numbers already matched up, i.e. the number 89, because this segment of the year is pretty much already 89 days from winter solstice to spring equinox. At the present moment, it's pretty much 89 days. Therefore, plotting the numbers so that they sequence in the same way as our seasons currently do, with spring 93, summer 93, autumn 91, 89 plus 1, and winter 89, we can find a very interesting start point. The axis of symmetry in our era runs from summer solstice to winter solstice, the longer half, 186 days, being spring and summer, and the shorter half, 178 days, being autumn and winter. Counting backwards from the autumn equinox, the point where the long half and short half meet equals, here we are, so minus 21, minus 13, minus 8 equals 42, answer of life, the universe and everything. 42 days before the autumn equinox does the outer time matrix lock in. So there's that geometry there. Here's the autumn equinox, minus 21, minus 13, minus 8. What is this point here? What is that? Well, that happens to be exactly to the day that the Mayan calendar began in 3114 BC. Precisely. In the Mayan long count, that is 5 Ok brackets 12, 19, 19, 13, 10. That's the date in 2012, and 42 previous to this, so that previous one was the autumn equinox, so 42 days previous is the day 2 Lamat, brackets 12, 19, 19, 11, 8 in 2012. In the Gregorian, that's August the 11th in 2012. So, further evidence to back up what I'm saying and its correlation with the Mayan long count is that these numbers here, up here, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55 plus 1 equals 132. 132. This is also 132 days before the end of the current long count. 20th of December 2012, the last day, and 21st of December 2012, the first day of the next long count. August the 11th, which is this point here, marks the exact point at which the solar zenith occurs at Azapa in 2012, Azapa being the place where researchers say the long count began. It is at this point in my own research that I had to ask myself, how much did the Mayans know? Since the codes of the Fibonacci spiral that exist as an average measurement throughout the natural world, and in the size and ratio of the human body, Leonardo Fibonacci lived between 1170 and 1250 AD, and the long count began in 3114 BC. This Fibonacci year describes the shape of the year, an organic year time matrix, based on ratios existing on a planetary level. As the Earth orbits the Sun, these resonant frequencies are continually being expressed to us. What a divine world we truly live in. So in the next graphic, we have the blue numbers show the symmetrical fire festival dates, and the green contains the inner and outer matrices. So here's this one. That's it all together there. So you've got the inner time, the outer time, and on the outside edge is showing how that all ties in with the organic 44, 45, 46, 47, 47, 46, 45, 44 plus 1. How is it even possible? Indeed, how is it even possible? Good question. Certainly adds up perfectly. So moving on to the next section, which is the... Ooh, wow. It's quite a long chapter, this one. Moving on to the next section, which is the solar zenith. Another geometric year. Another definition of geometric and organic. Geometric, each of the segments are always exactly the same length. organic has a fluctuation, like the 44, 45, 46, 47, 47, 46, 45, 44 is a fluctuation. So here we have the solar zenith year. Next to the solar zenith year, with its graphic dividing the year into 7 segments of 52 years. One of which is 2 times 26 equals 52. This is the inverse to the 52 weeks of the standard geometric year. So instead of having 7 days in a week times 52 equals 364, you have 52 segments, 52 day segments times 7 equals 364. So the inverse. Yeah. In my time researching the origins of the Mayan long count, I found that many of the authors mention the realization that was reached at the sites existing on or near 15 degrees latitude north, for example, is Zappa zenith cosmology. The first place I ever saw this concept published was in the book by John Major Jenkins in 1998 called Maya Cosmogenesis 2012. One of the peculiarities I've noticed with this zenith cosmology is that it connects up with the 24 Elder Fufak runes, as the 15th rune is Algiz Ehwaz. Also, 360 divided by 24 runes equals 15, which is this rune here. The rune of protection and invocation. Protection, invocation. Within the tropics, between in brackets, between 23.5 degrees north and south, close brackets, as well as having the standard 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes, the phenomena of the 2 solar zeniths were also tracked, making a total of 6 key days. And there's a little star there. In fact, the 2 solar nadirs were also tracked, making 8 days, but that's for another book. Oh god, another book? Oh really? Oh, I don't know about that. In the research I've seen, it stated that at or near the latitude of 15 degrees north, the solar zenith occurs 52 days after the summer solstice. I have confirmed this using modern programs like StarCalc, in brackets. In fact, I confirm all my calculations several times to ensure accuracy. Yep, I am a perfectionist. In the graphic, the central axis runs from apex, summer solstice, to root, winter solstice, and the 2 lines run from the center up to the left and the right, like someone standing with their arms raised, pointing in the direction of the times of the solar zeniths. So that's here. So here's the axis of symmetry, and then these are the 2 zeniths. The 52nd day after the geometric summer solstice was the start point of the long count, 3114 BC, and has kept this lost secret hidden until now. So here it is. So this point here is where the long count began, and that equates to this point here. Is the same day. So just like the organic and the geometric anchor point keeps those matrices aligned via the +1 at the end near the day before the winter solstice, in the same way the geometric zenith year and the Fibonacci year have an anchor point, which is that date that they started the long count on. Bizarrely enough, I'd really love to know how they figured all this out, like thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Because I needed computers, I needed lots of help. As mentioned before, this graphic is the inverse of the standard geometric year, and therefore is also based on tracking the geometric alignments, symmetry. In 3114 BC, the dates of the key alignments that we're working with here as follows. This is the point where other researchers' work goes no further in clarifying the exactness of the Mayan time science, and the point at which the Infinity Codes investigation begins to shine really bright. So what do we have here? What we have here is these two numbers. These numbers here. Now, just to briefly go over all this stuff, you know, about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, round about then, you know, there's so much talk about all these precision of the Mayan calendar and all these different varying viewpoints on who's right and who's wrong, and people taking sides and deciding this was right and that was wrong and all the rest of it. Create quite a big hoo-ha, and anyway, my research shows actually neither of them right and both of them wrong, because they're taking sides. Actually, both dates, both of these numbers, have significance. One is a geometric date, and the other is an organic date. Now, they're both required for maintaining accuracy purposes. And I've just gone over the organic and the geometric, so the dates are then relative to those matrices. Again, how is it that this ancient wisdom has all this embedded in it? Well, I was oblivious of that when I started this investigation, but over and over and over and over again, it keeps coming back. So, how is that possible? Someone, please, across the entire planet, if anybody would like to refute this information, please show me. You know? How is it possible? I'd really love to know. So these are the two numbers. 584,283 and 584,285. These are Julian day numbers. Now, we use the Gregorian calendar, but there's this other system of time which is called the Julian day numbers, named after obviously Julius Caesar, which is a count of linear days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, it just keeps going. And so we basically have the Gregorian calendar and the Julian day system. So we have both. We have the old Julian and the modern Gregorian at the same time. As long as anything is Roman. As long as it's Roman, it's good. If it's not Roman, get rid of it. You know, that's the mentality. That's what we're dealing with. Even though, you know, we have this entire, you know, entire planetary wisdom across the entire planet, you know, like even there we go. Yeah. So even in St. Peter's Square, you know? What is that? What is that? That's a 8-pointed courtyard. Interesting. So, what you're saying there is that St. Peter's Square outside the Vatican is a perfectly constructed geometric courtyard, aligned to the cardinal directions and the 8 points, which is basically that graphic, right? Which honors every culture of the planet. It's not owned by the Vatican, they don't have any ownership over this sequence. And yet, they are who? They are the keepers of the Gregorian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar fire festival dates that everybody thinks are the actual fire festival dates, like May the 1st, August the 1st, November the 1st, and February the 1st. As long as it's the first day of a Gregorian month, then obviously it's a fire festival. No, No, it's not a fire festival. Go and talk to Stonehenge. Stonehenge still has the accurate alignments of that. And what we're talking about here, St. Peter's Square. What is it? It's an 8-sided courtyard that represents this. And yet they are the bestowers of the Gregorian calendar, fiction, and the fire festival, fiction, which is what it is. I'm not saying this because I like saying it. I'm saying it because it is the truth, based off of research of our ancestors. So all this says to me is hypocrisy. Pure and simple. Hypocrisy. So, where were we? Yes, so here we are. We have these very massive, very important numbers, which for about 5 years there's online debate about who's right and who's wrong, which I observed, and I was just like, don't agree with either of you, I'm just going to do my own research, thanks. So in both cases there are 52 days inclusive between these points, counting from geometric point to geometric point, or from organic point to organic point. Due to the shape of the year being warped towards the spring equinox in 3114 BC, as the aphelion was close to the spring equinox in that era. This then creates the 2-day difference, plus 2 minus 2 difference, that you see between the geometric and organic points. Again, see later on in this book for more info on the 58-year shift. This can also be understood that in our current era, the shape of the year is warped towards the summer solstice, again with the aphelion being close to it, making the 2-day difference occur at the spring and autumn equinox, instead of the summer and winter solstice, as is the case in 3114 BC. Little star. The axis is therefore shifted approximately 90 degrees over the period of one long count. Interesting. Another thing the long count does. Amazing. Wow. This page lays down the foundations on which the Mayans, in their vast knowledge of the great cycles of time, anchored the long count on the geometric solar zenith, not the organic zenith as one would presume. Very, very clever, interesting thing that they did there. This discrepancy is also the reason why the 2 main Julian day numbers, which I just mentioned on the previous page, the 584,283 and the 584,285 have existed in the Mayan research, and why so much was argued about which was the right one. However, no one had the idea that maybe both were right, and the Mayans were using a dynamic system of time that took into account both the geometric and organic. Geometric and organic, not one or the other. No, not 12 or 13, not 12 versus 13, or oh, we're just going to be 12 orientated now and get rid of the 13, or now we're going to be 13 orientated and get rid of the 12. No. An alchemy of 12 and 13, or an alchemy of geometric and organic. All inclusive, yes, fuller picture, expanded picture, not closed view with the blinkers on. Don't tell me anything because I don't want to know. I don't know. You don't want to know about your own reality. Okay, well, it's pretty interesting actually. Pretty flipping, how's it even possible, really? This is where we actually live. These terms, geometric and organic, are terms I've come up with myself. I needed to do this as there was no one else disclosing such theories. It just made sense to me. Geometric, extremely precise, always the segments are exactly the same length. Precise, geometric. Organic, still has very, very strong precision, as it's still pretty much precise, but it has a bit of fluctuation in it. Make it interesting. Organic, geometric. Anchoring the long count on the geometric zenith and not the organic was done so that in the future, in our era, and in the year 2012, when the geometric and organic solar zeniths have combined due to the shift in the position of the aphelion, the long count would complete exactly on the geometric winter solstice, December 20th, the +1, and the next long count would begin on the organic winter solstice, Fortahout, December 21st, 2012. The fluctuations of using both geometric and organic systems allow a fuller picture to form, and a more accurate timing system to be followed. Indeed, accurate enough, it seems, to be able to predict the exact occurrence of the solstice sun crossing the galactic equator 5,125 years into the future. I dedicate this realization to the wisdom of our ancestors. Exclamation mark. May we all remember that our roots are truly planted in the hearts of absolute genius. In conclusion, here's a graphic I created to summarize this particular aspect of the genius of the Mayan time science. It also shows the relation of the Fibonacci ratio to 1 year anchored at the geometric solar zenith. To re-emphasize, did the Mayans also know of this ratio long before us, and therefore long enough before 3114 BC in order to work it into the calculations? Surely that would mean several thousand years of investigations in order to figure out the calculations first before creating the 5,125 year time sequence. But then that goes against the modern held view that we live in this supposedly advanced age. I think the science I'm describing here is pinpointing evidence of a lost ancient world culture, or at the very least an advanced ancient culture in the Americas. Atlantis? Here is the graphic. There we go. So that's let's go to the geometric on the left and the organic on the right, plus Fibonacci, plus the solar zeniths. Basically has all four previous sections: the geometric 8s, the organic 8s, the solar zenith year, and the solar zenith year, the Fibonacci year, and the zenith year, all in one graphic, showing how every aspect of all of those graphics all anchor into each other. You have the anchor point down here for the geometric and the organic, and you have the anchor point up here for the Fibonacci year and the solar zenith. So, two anchor points. Two very key anchor points. Number of days from the geometric zenith to organic solstice in 2012, the number of days extra on top of the 5,125 years in order for the long count formula to balance out. That is 5,125 years plus 132 days. Because if it started here, and every year it goes round and round and round and round, and it doesn't complete another year until... Was I going the wrong way? No, I was going the right way. Yeah, going round and round. Until, you get to the last year. It started here. 3,114 BC. Until it got to 2012. In 2012 it had to do this extra 132 days to complete it. So that's this equation here. How surprising it was to find out at the end of so many years of investigation that between the years of 3114 BC and 2012 AD, the average length of the year that was only adopted by the Catholic Church after they colonized the Mayas was the same exact length of the year the Mayas highlighted in the last long count sequence. Ooh, how's that? Ooh, that's the Gregorian year there. That's bizarre. That's very bizarre. That's like, you know, how the Romans went and conquered Egypt. And then suddenly afterwards they started to use this thing called a leap day. You know, Romans had this weird 10-month year for quite a while. They weren't really interested in time at all. The Etruscans had a particularly interesting calendar, but the Romans colonized themselves first. Got rid of the poor Etruscans. So this whole Catholic Church business. So in the same way, you know, what happened? They went over to the Americas, and then they came back, and what did they do? They upgraded the calendar, just like Romans in Egypt. So conquering other nations and you know, destroying their knowledge and wisdom, and then but at the same time using their knowledge and wisdom and incorporating it into your own systems. Very interesting, very strange behavior for a species, you know, very strange behavior. So there's not a little star here. With the apparent decrease in the length of the year by 1 second per century on average, this would mean that over one long count, the length of the year would decrease by 51.25 seconds approximately. That's an interesting number there, 5125. The decimal points being moved. It would also mean that the start of the long count beginning in 5114 BC, the length of the year was... Ooh, some mad equations there. Hope you brought your calculators. I was thinking maybe I should, you know, provide free calculators with my books, you know. If you don't believe me that all these things add up, grab a calculator, do the equations. At the end of the last long count in 2012, it would result in 365.2425 minus 2.966 in brackets times 10 to the minus 4, which is the year length 365.2422. Number of days per year rounded, and this also matches the year length as it stands today according to modern estimates. So that's the current length, or one of the approximations, since it's constantly fluctuating because we live in this dynamic universe that isn't a clock. It has a very strong geometric center around which the organic fluctuates, but it's not a clock. It's not a clock. It's not a clock. Coincidence, or the universe as a living library of synchronicity. Perhaps we have here evidence of lost ancient wisdom being stolen by the conquering nations. Why am I not surprised? Because I'm not surprised. That's what conquering nations do. They steal treasure, they steal people, they steal knowledge. That's what they do. Unfortunately, sad as it may be, that is the nature of our planetary species. It likes to conquer, like the Romans conquered, because that's the time matrix program under which we're living, the conquering program of the Romans, namely the Gregorian calendar conquering program. I know it's got lovely names, you know, you could say lovely names, January, February, March, la-di-da. Yeah, it's like nice softening names to give the illusion that you're just dealing with this fluffy thing that doesn't have any dark and obscure scary aspects. So nice and light and fluffy on the outside. On the inside, ooh, extremely demonic. Extremely demonic. Crazy. Insane. Looking back over the last equation, the number of seconds in the decrease of the length of the year over half a long count equals... This is a precise fractal reflection of the number of years in 5 times 5,125 years of each long count, or 25,625 for 5 long counts. That's a rounded figure. 25.625 seconds decrease of the year length over half a long count. So that's going into this stuff here, down the bottom. So down here, that's this information here. So what we got is over here. There we go. So all these numbers here. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. So number of years in 5 mile long counts, 2, 5, 6, and 27. Megabytes of RAM, 256 times 2, 512 times 2, 1024. 64, well, 64 is the number of DNA codons, 64 is the number of I Ching hexagrams. Yeah, there's all numbers on there, all tied together in what can only be described as a fractal reality that we live in. And even our bodies, you know, recycle themselves through the same sequences. 7 years. 7 year skeleton renewal. 7 years. 7 years is pretty much 2,560 days. 256. Bizarre. So this number 256 can be seen to be part of this binary growth pattern. Right here. 2, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. Do we actually live in a holographic reality? The chart provided on page 83 gives the zenith dates for Zappa, Palenque, Teotihuacan, years 100 to 15th century, showing exact dates of the organic zenith fluctuating through time. So that's page 83. That's a spreadsheet there. I've got quite a lot of those. Only managed to fit a few of them in the book though. As you can see, I'm into my precision. So there we go. That's the main sections of chapter 6. So the final section is to do with the 52-year cycle of the Mayans, which connects in with the solar zenith matrix. And there's that pyramid again, with aligning with the sun and the stars. Over the course of my studies into Mayan cosmology, I learned that one of the most important and sacred cycles they honored and celebrated was the cycle of 52 years. This cycle has also come to be known as the calendar round, and was marked by a new fire ceremony to start the next cycle. As a cycle of time, it represents the time for the Hab, 365 days, and Zolkin, 260 days, to resynchronize to day 1 in both counts. So, calendrical sequences restarting. And this is because after 52 years they both equal this number. So 365 times 52, or 260 times 73. During my time in Mexico in 2000, I stayed at Chichen Itza for about a week. I had planned to be there after previously reading a book by John Major Jenkins called My Cosmogenesis 2012, which I mentioned before, which is an awesome book. Thoroughly scholarly, very academic. So it was on that day, the day of no shadows, as it was the Zenith day. Yellow rhythmic human, 12-19-742, or 8 Eek, which is the wind. May 20th, in the Gregorian, I was within the pyramid of Kukulkan at midday in deep meditation at a Mayan ceremony for the solar zenith alignment with the Pleiades. It was a great honor to be there, and I was lucky to have shared time with the Mayan elder leading the ceremony about a week before for several days of one-to-one tutorials on Mayan cosmology. This is where my spirit name, Hun Kukum, originated, through my vision of the one white feather of peace and sacred intent during an initiation with the Mayan elder. There's the pyramid again. Chichen Itza, Pyramid of Kukulkan, of the feathered rainbow serpent. During my investigations into the alignments of the sun with the Pleiades at Chichen Itza, I used star calc to determine the nature of that alignment on the day I was there. I lined up perfectly, so amazing. However, only when the ecliptic pink line was at right angles to the line connecting with the sun and the star. In this respect, it was the Pleiades star cluster and its brightest star, Alcyon. This alignment was brought to my attention first by the statement of John Major Jenkins in his book, page 74, that May 20th was the date of the solar zenith during our era. Here is that alignment. Here is the ecliptic. Here is the sun, which moves along the ecliptic. And here is the Pleiades. So, what we have here is basically further codes to talk about accuracy, depending on how you're looking at the whole thing, whether you're looking at it from a perspective of the perpendicular to the ecliptic, or perpendicular to the east-west, north-south axis. So these are 2 dates. So I used these star programs to look up the date that I was there in 2000 in the pyramid to find out if what the Mayan elder was talking about and the books talked about was actually accurate. In the image above, you can see the central star, the Pleiades Alcyon, having its closest alignment with the sun on the north and south axis on May 19th, whereas on May 20th is aligned with the ecliptic. So there's 2 versions there. There's 2 different ways to say it's aligned, just like you have the organic and the geometric, you know? Having a further look at the years after 2000, running up to 2012, I found that it was only once every 4 years that the sun and the Pleiades aligned exactly to the minute with the north-south axis. 2000 was a perfect year for the ceremony, as it was aligned according to the ecliptic. See first star calc graphic. Before you can see the alignment pattern of 4 years in the time difference, 0 minutes, with regard to the north-south axis alignment. Here is the Pleiades, and here's the table here. Another wee mini spreadsheet table. So again, what's that showing? That's showing the table of zenith times of the sun and Alcyon with north-south axis, showing the fluctuations, showing the 4-year cycle is inherent there. It's all about accuracy. I always like to double check things. Another little star. Because of this disruption caused by our world continuing to use the Gregorian leap day system, alignments vary in regard to which calendar day they fall on. Yes, this is an unfortunate consequence of using errors to measure time. All of these calculations are being made via the program StarCalc, available for download. There's a link there, but you can just look up StarCalc, STARCALC. This program is an excellent tool for determining exact alignments, and it has enabled me to do extensive research into many elements of the time codes. It's a free program as well, yeah? Continuing this investigation into the larger cycles of 52 years, I will refer back to the information contained on the page on the 33-year diamond, which is to say, the Mayan leap day cycle of 1,507 years creates the length of the year 365.2422, which was mentioned in the previous section, which is the modern approximation for now, and it's already aware, the Mayans already aware of it thousands of years ago. Amazing. Amazing accuracy. This cycle of leap days can be shown to be based on calculations of the length of the year from the sun rising east at the spring equinox, using star clock, as the average length of the year during the centuries of the current long count, 3,114 to 2012 are. So here we have down here, as you can see, eventually it becomes 365.2423. So this is the year based solely on measuring it from the spring equinox. Currently, it's meant to be an average. So if you measure the year from the spring equinox to spring equinox, or summer solstice, you'll get different answers. Bizarrely enough, that's how weird and fluctuating our reality actually is. But ultimately, you can create an average. And the average is like creating a geometric measure to then see the fluctuation. Because if it's the average, it's in the middle. Yes? So it's in the middle, and therefore you can see what is the minimum and the maximum. And you can see it go like this, fluctuate. And then you can track the fluctuations and see how often these fluctuations reoccur, and whether that occurrence is speeding up or slowing down and all the rest of it. But you have to have the average first. So, finally, in conclusion again, thus the calculations of the program StarCalc back up the calculations made by the ancient Mayans and vice versa. It is results like these that have empowered me to delve further to see the exactness of what our ancestors beheld. They used stone circles and pyramid alignments, whereas we today are more prone to use satellites or telescopes. Regardless, the results are the same, and it is this fact that shows indeed that modern science is catching up with ancient knowledge. Meanwhile, the mainstream is still lost in linear time, following an outdated calendar. Conclusion: the exact science of the ancient Mayans. Within the large cycle of 1,507 years that the Mayans used to calibrate their leap days, there are many cycles within cycles, cycles within cycles, cycles within cycles. You know, numbers carry a resonance. You just have to look at frequencies vibrating on the sand dishes, creating concentric circles to show that numbers and vibration are equivalent to patterns. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about patterns of time and space, and cycles of time and space, which can be connected to numbers or frequencies. So here is a final graphic. So you've got here Pyramid of Kukulkan. You have what is the Zenith alignment in 2012. So it just so happens that that alignment was 216 days before the 2012. So the last Pleiades Zenith alignment with the Pyramid of Kukulkan happened exactly 216 days before 2012, which is 6 times 6 times 6, which is actually No, it's not the devil. No, it's the carbon atom, which is a very fundamentally important atom in our universe. We would not be here if it wasn't for carbon. Lots of things wouldn't be here. I mean, you could probably say that about all elements, but carbon particularly. Yeah? So I'd like to finish off by saying this geometric and organic, this alchemy. You may have heard the term Hunab-Ku, the one giver of movement and measure. Now, after creating the book and wanting to put in more graphics, it made sense to me that this alchemy of movement and measure is basically another way of saying organic and geometric, because measure, precision, is geometric, whereas movement or fluctuation is organic. So it's basically saying the same thing. It's like time and space, maybe you could look at it like time fluctuates a bit more than space. If you're identifying space as, say, the solid ground that we live on, sure, it still, occasionally moves and we have earthquakes and stuff, but it's a bit more stable compared to time, which fluctuates. You can see the solid earth, whereas time is like ethereal. But you can't have one without the other. And it's like melody and rhythm. You have the solid rhythm and the melody that fluctuates. Again, it's an alchemy. Hunab-Ku, one giver of movement and measure. Wow. Chapter 6 has been completed in Lakesh, Lakin. Dedicated to our ancestors. Infinity Codes is dedicated to our ancestors because they do not have enough of a voice. They don't. We're living in a hierarchy. It's top down. Fascism. All these different things, all these different isms. Control systems. Control systems in place because the science, which we're supposedly meant to be always interested in, the most advanced sciences, is a lot of the time ignored because it doesn't suit the stockholders and their need for infinite profit. That's another thing that has to be mentioned here. I'm talking about infinity codes. I see a lot of stuff about people talking about infinite growth, and they're using the word infinite growth. Sorry, but you're using the wrong terminology. Using the wrong terminology. For it to be infinite growth, it would have to last forever. Now, they're not doing infinite growth. They're doing finite, linear, entropic growth. That's what they're doing. mining and destroying the planet is not infinite growth, because it will not last. They might like to call it infinite growth because they're delusional and they think it will last forever, but no. Infinity codes, as in infinite growth, is living in harmony with the planet and the cosmos in such a way as you don't destroy the environment you're living in. Therefore, true infinite growth, as in you pass on the honour to the next generation to take care of our home. That's true infinite growth. Yes? None of this delusionary stuff, please. Had enough of that. All these mind games and word games. Really tired. Really wouldn't mind people being a bit more scientific, since they say they're scientific, particularly about time, because there is quite a lot of deep wisdom of our ancestors from the entire planet to listen to, and that's important to me. I hope it's important to you too. Blessings and blissings to everybody. May universal peace prevail.